Pokemon of the Year 2020, the Pokemonification of a truly fabled segment of the Pokemon anime. An ace Pokemon who took the ace archetype to brand new heights. Ash-greninja was cool, competent, and has left fans in hot anticipation of a comeback to this very day. So let's talk about Ash-greninja and why it made such a splash with fans. Hey everyone, it's Charles. How are you today? Just a quick heads up before we dive into the Greninja fairy tale, but if you haven't checked it out already, you should definitely check out the brand spankin' new Pokemoments series that we recently launched, a series in which we take a look at classic moments from the Pokemon universe, funny moments, sad moments, epic moments, cringe moments, you know, moments, and we break them down for the sake of nostalgia, big braining, and uncovering Pokemon factoids that we can use to flex on our friends. That is, if we have friends. But if you are here on the Charu channel, you most definitely do have friends. Pokemon anime friends. With that said, today we will be breaking down the reasons behind Ash-greninja's cool factor and why it has made such a long-lasting impact with fans. Because wowzers, I get asked to make a video on Greninja pretty much every day. So this is for all the gentlemen and gentle ladies out there who are still flying their frog flags high 4 years after the dust settled on the Kalos League. And as always, it'll be a good old time, so kindly request your Machoke to cross-chop that like button for the YouTube algorithm, snuggle up to your Nurse Joy Dakimakura, and let's jump right in. Before we dig into the meat of the conversation on Ash-greninja, let's quickly, and I mean quick attack quickly, set up 2 bits of important context. Firstly, why is normal Greninja itself, let alone Ash-greninja, such a fan favorite badass? And 2, Greninja 101, a 1 minute or less rundown on the basics of Ash-greninja's stint in the Pokemon anime so that those who don't know a thing about Ash's ace in the XY series or bonding of the PG variety can get up to speed for today's show. Okay, let's get down to business. So, Vanilla Greninja, the fully evolved form of Froakie, Pokemon X and Y's water starter alongside Charmander and Snivy. I'm kidding. But why is it so damn cool? Setting aside the color blue, pink, I love pink, water, shurikens, etc. I reckon that its lanky humanoid form is one of the key building blocks of its awesomeness because seeing a motion zipping around the battlefield with movement patterns that could easily have been pulled out of Attack on Titan, Vinland Saga, or even a Jackie Chan movie. It's something that you don't see from the bulky or floaty Pokemon builds that proliferate the world of Stage 2 Pokemon evolutions. These very relatable portions, coupled with the speed and agility of an action hero or a video game hero, we are talking big beans in terms of instant cool factor, let alone Greninja's sexy stats and moveset. Hitmonchan, Incineroar, Infernape, these Pokemon moving with the particular kind of grace and dexterity nearly unique to humans, it makes them relatable even though they are so supercharged. Slick movements, slick appearance, slick stats. It's little wonder how Greninja became such an instant fan favorite among Pokemon X and Y players, but one has to think that its pivotal role in the anime must have played a part in catapulting it into the #1 spot on the Pokemon of the Year 2020 awards. So let's briefly run through the basics of Greninja's anime persona before we really jump into the core of Greninja's appeal, specifically the appeal of Ash-greninja. Greninja entered the story of Ash and friends as a Froakie who'd rejected a series of trainers due to its intentions of finding a trainer who it could truly respect and bond with. And that trainer was Ash, who won Froakie's allegiance through his courageous and reckless face-off against a Garchomp at Prism Tower in Kalos, in which he put his neck on the line to resolve a situation he had no need to get involved in, even going so far as to leap off the tower because he is just that gung-ho about friendship The long and short of it is that after joining Ash, Froakie became his go-to Pokemon of the XY series, a truly Ash-like companion who remained goal-driven and loyal even as it evolved into Frogadier and then Greninja. Ash's ace in the Kalos League, with whom he mastered a revolutionary new kind of Pokemon power-up and powered his way into the Lumiose Conference Finals before suffering a shocking loss and ultimately releasing his Greninja to move on to bigger and better deeds in a move that broke fans' hearts. So that's the basic rundown on Ash's Greninja. Now let's address the two key factors that really made Ash's Greninja shine in the context of Ash's Pokemon arsenal: its personality and its very unique relationship with Ash. And we will try to do so before this room becomes completely dark. I do promise that one day I will invest in a lighting setup. Now, this isn't to discredit the coolness and the contributions of Snorlax, Sceptile, Crocodile, etc., but when I look back upon the aces of the Pokemon anime, I see a golden trio of Pokemon that tower above the rest in terms of their character arcs, power, popularity, and significance in the context of their respective series. These are aces who etched their names into the annals of Pokemon history and are still regularly talked about by fans to this day. This venerable Big Three is composed of Charizard, Infernape, and Greninja. Three exceptional Pokemon who helped Ash reach new heights, each in their own way. And while the big three do bear a number of similarities, each has their own qualities and appeal, and there are aspects of Greninja's character that clearly separate it from the two fire beasts. And I believe these character traits are a big part of the reason why Ash's Greninja created such big ripples with viewers. It all comes down to where Greninja started and where it ended up. When it comes to character relationships in these kinds of stories, the most interesting character dynamics are often kicked into swing when characters with very different personalities come together and awkwardly try to adapt to each other's quirks, strengths, and weaknesses. But there is also this scenario in which two characters with very similar characteristics and goals meet up and bust ass together to get truly great things done in an awesome way, with Ash and Greninja's relationship being a particularly compelling example of this. Just to quickly run through some of these similarities before taking a crack at the other big factor of Ash's Greninja's appeal. If we go way back to the beginning, even as a Froakie, Ash's Greninja was about as stubborn as Ash himself was in his early days. And likewise, it possessed that same drive to better itself from the get-go. So much so that it isolated itself from the other Froakie it grew up with in order to train itself. And even after becoming a starter Pokemon at Professor Sycamore's lab, it was so picky about getting a trainer it could fully trust and become strong with together that it would quickly be sent back from one new trainer after the next on grounds of disobedience, if it didn't simply run back to the lab itself. Although Ash never found himself bundled up into a Pokeball and shipped back to Professor Oak. On the flip side, he himself has never been one to waste his time on Pokemon he hasn't felt some kind of affinity for. Something about him that is as admirable as it is at times rather maddening. And much like Ash, Greninja is also a natural-born leader who truly values its friends, not only acting as the de facto leader of Ash's battle squad, but also taking care of the group off the pitch, putting its neck out there for Bonnie, Serena, Chespin, and others. Every bit as brave and selfless as Ash, every bit as loyal to its friends, every bit as unwilling to retreat from a challenge, and every bit as focused on becoming the very best like no one ever was. The character of Ash Greninja is very closely aligned with that of Ash, and had been since before it even met Ash, and that is what makes Ash Greninja quite different from most other Pokemon that Ash has encountered over the years. It's as if they were kindred spirits before they even met. When we consider the development of Charizard, perhaps my favorite ace of all time, a timid and anxious Charmander who came into Ash's arms and became Ash's worst nightmare, as a Charmeleon and Charizard before finally rediscovering the value of their friendship. And when we consider the roots and development of Infernape's character, a frail and diffident Chimchar who came into Ash's arms and was transformed into a confident powerhouse that exacted the perfect revenge on those who had wronged it with a truly grand victory. Both of these Pokemon underwent massive mental change and growth under Ash's wing. And then we have Greninja. Froakie. A courageous and protective Froakie came into Ash's arms and left them just as it came in, full of courage, protecting those around it, and constantly pushing the envelope. It became much more powerful physically and racked up various achievements with Ash's friendship and guidance, but it had a strength of character that never bent under the strain of evolution, as the characters of many other Pokemon do. Much like Ash has been the same at his core ever since we first laid eyes on him, personality-wise, Greninja has largely remained the same relative to the other aces of the big three, who stumbled through tumultuous personality shifts as they evolved and took on new powers. Just as Ash has power scaled up to 9,000 while retaining the same key personality qualities that made him a hit back in his Indigo days, Greninja cranked up the beast meter while continuing to visualize the same endgame and embody the same characteristics of loyalty and chivalry that made it so appealing in its early days with Ash as a Froakie. When it comes to character relationships in these kinds of stories, Ash's Greninja came into the series and went out of it with this consistent fighting spirit and unrelenting drive to achieve as if it was Ash Ketchum reincarnated as a Pokemon. And so it was like having double the Ash when Ash was at his arguable peak of coolness. And that side effect made Ash's Greninja all the more cool. Of course, there's more to it, but seeing as this room has become darker than a Sneasel's armpits, I think we will first flip on a light switch and finish our video with poor lighting, but nevertheless, lighting. Okay, we are back with hilarious, but at least somewhat bright lighting, more fish in the background than ever before, and it is time to talk about the bond phenomenon. While bonding has always been a key feature of the anime, the literal bond phenomenon introduced with Ash's Greninja broke fresh ground and opened up an entirely new skill tree within which Ash could grow with his Pokemon. And this bond phenomenon is a rare sort of power-up in the Pokemon universe. Something that can occur only when the trust between a trainer and his Pokemon is extremely high, and the two are able to harness and control this bond. In practical terms, it was a way of giving Ash an alternative to Megas with which to take a strong crack at the Kalos League, but in terms of storytelling, it became so much more than what would have been possible with the Mega dynamic. In the case of Ash and Greninja, when the two are able to successfully pull off the bond phenomenon by synchronizing their hearts and minds, Greninja will transform into ash-greninja, as coined by Bonnie, a form of Greninja that bears various physical similarities to Ash, but of course, most importantly, beyond the aesthetic upgrade, Ash Greninja gains a huge speed and power boost that puts it on par with Mega Evolutions, giving Ash's team some much needed firepower with which to carve out a legacy in the Kalos region. However, there are some serious side effects associated with the bond phenomenon. Firstly, the synchronization takes a serious toll on Ash's body, even causing him to pass out from exhaustion at times. And secondly, whenever synchronized, Ash can feel the same pain as Greninja wherever it is struck by an attack. Not only did this bond mechanic raise the stakes of battles, since Ash would actually get physically hurt alongside his Pokemon, unlike in any previous series, barring that very wacky Viridian City Gym encounter in the first series, but it also added another layer of complexity to Ash and Greninja's relationship. In order to master the synchronization technique, for Greninja to get the full benefits of it, and for Ash to withstand the enormous strain on his body, Ash became determined to become as closely aligned with Greninja as possible, even adapting the same training routines, at least within the constraints of his humanity. However, while the synchronization technique, the bond phenomenon, was their secret weapon and something that quite literally bound them together, it was also a major point of contention in their relationship, as their ongoing struggles to master it led to serious bouts of depression, with both of them feeling inadequate. And really, this resulted in a very interesting Pokemon trainer dynamic. Their failures to synchronize came to a head in the battle against Wulfric, in which Ash and Greninja failed to make it work and cost Team Ketchum the match. Rattled by the loss, Ash later leaves Greninja at the Pokemon Center and goes off by himself into the woods at night, sulking and full of self-pity. And likewise, Greninja also felt accountable for the loss and went off into the woods to reflect. Their confidence, their solidarity was at an all-time low. However, after Ash was reprimanded for his behavior by a good friend, and Greninja went looking for his trainer, they met up in a snowstorm and at long last managed to perfectly synchronize in order to save a Spupa. Yes, a cute little Spupa from taking a terrible tumble off of a cliff. Following this ad hoc rescue mission, Ash told Greninja about his aspirations to become a trainer, a little bit more about his personal philosophy, as well as his take on Pokemon and trainer relationships. And as a result, their bonds grew even tighter. From then on out, things started to look up for the two of them, as they went on a roll and crushed their way into the finals of the Lumiose Conference, carving out many epic memories in the memories of fans. But as cool as the bond transformation was in its broader strokes, the aspect of it that really amped up the cool factor of the battles of Greninja and of Ash was certainly the simple fact that they shared pain. This is the feature that truly distinguishes ash-greninja from Ash's other ace Pokemon, as most other elements of the ace archetype that Greninja shared had been covered in some way or another in the past, but this was something very special. It added another layer of excitement to the matches, it added more tension than ever before, and it brought Ash close to a Pokemon in a way that we had never seen. As I mentioned earlier, I get comments about Ash's Greninja pretty well every day, and one has to wonder why exactly it has maintained such a passionate following. Certainly, Greninja resides in the top tier of coolness when it comes to Ash's Pokemon, but I feel like there is also this raging undercurrent of dissatisfaction that props up its popularity. After all, while Ash won big titles with Charizard and more recently with his team in Alola, he never went all the way with Greninja in a segment of the anime in which it seemed like certainly he was destined to at last take a conference championship. And this never really sat right with a lot of fans. Hence, its overall cool factor, combined with that nail-biter letdown that was the Kalos finals, it's all combined into this appetite to see Greninja make a comeback, to rekindle the power of the bond transformation, to settle an old rivalry, and to finally finish the fight. Through the tough times, the highs, the biggest loss of all time, and beyond, the bond between Ash and Greninja was more than just a bond phenomenon. It was a special relationship that lit a fire in the hearts of fans, and thus, to this day, we await the return of the blue frog ninja with bated breath. But what do you think? Are you a fan of Ash Greninja? Are you a hater? Are you somewhere in between? Why is Ash's Greninja so massively popular 4 years after it disappeared? And will it ever come back? I'm curious what you think. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's show on ash-greninja, and I also hope that until next time, you all have a very healthy, happy, and safe week. Do check out my new Pokémon series, and as always, let's chat.